watch the world passing by. With you by my side, maybe this ride could make things right. Speeding up, blurring out the lights. Soon your eyes will be the only blue. Give me more minutes of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to forget. We could go nowhere. Give me more hours of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to escape. Let's go nowhere. Gotta wish tonight, baby, please set your thoughts aside. 'Cause it's been so long, maybe we could drive into the dawn. Speeding up, blurring out the lights. Soon your eyes will be the only blue. Give me more minutes of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to forget. We could go nowhere. Give me more hours of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to escape. Let's go nowhere. We could go nowhere.
Hello, everyone joining this session webinar on generative AI and the impact on the workplace. Today's webinar has attracted widespread attention from all over the world. So please help us welcome everyone into this session. Say hi in the chat, tell us where you are joining us from and what brought you here. So my name is Panelist, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of the company Session, and we host quarterly webinars on topics relevant to working and leading in a modern world. And this topic, as I said, was attracting a lot of attention. We could say, actually, it's our second most popular session so far, and I understand why. Because since the release of ChatGPT back on November 30th, we've seen so many conversations about the impact of not only ChatGPT, but also artificial in general in our workplaces. And we're all wondering, what's going on? Why is this happening now that we all of a sudden talk so much about this? And how can it be that a single technology can attract this much attention in such a short time span? In fact, if you look at how quickly it attracted attention, you can take a look at this graph and see that in 5 days time, it reached 1 million users. And within a month, we had more than 100 million users of this technology. So something is definitely going on in the field of artificial intelligence and also generative AI. But what is it and what's different now compared to maybe if you look at 1970 when this book was released, Future Shock by Alvin Toffler. And one of the things he said in the foreword was how this technology is profoundly shaping our lives. And let me read you just a little bit from the foreword. Actually, it says here, jobs are changing more frequently. Homes moved, fashions adopted and discarded, knowledge gained and outdated, ideas created and used up faster and faster, Marriage, possessions, and information become increasingly temporary. Subcultures and ways of living and working become more diverse. Totally new concepts in biology and technology reduce us to naive visitors in a world set on an acceleration course towards advances far exceeding anything that man is yet psychologically or morally prepared to live with. So what's different? This was 1970. And in fact, back in 2015, I released an article called Glowing Cats and the New Exponential Reality, talking about the importance of us being mindful when it comes to technology and what we as a human species use it for. So when we see an adaptation happening this quickly, as we are seeing right now, let me just show you this graph once more. There's something going on that we all need to really talk about, because what impact will it have when technology now is not only in the hands of users like Stephen, who has widespread knowledge about artificial intelligence, and he will in a minute tell us much more about what it is, because we may not have the same understanding of what are we even talking about. So he'll give us a general overview of that in a minute. But also, how can we use it? What happens when it all of a sudden are in the hands of so many people? And what impact will it have on our workplace? And to shed light on this, we have an esteemed panelist. Stephen will introduce himself in a minute. But we also have you, Artie, joining us as an HR business partner from Unilever. Can you please give us a short introduction to yourself?
Sure. Hey everyone, this is Aarti Mishra, an HR professional with over 13 years of experience in the diversified setups. Currently, I'm working for Unilever. In this webinar today, I'm going to be just representing myself, Pernille.
Yes, and I'm so curious to hear your perspectives on I know that a lot of people joining today are from the HR professions, and they are all struggling to understand, what impact we'll have, but also what questions do we need to ask ourselves, and how can we help our workforce get prepared? And that's also something you, Andres, is very occupied with, I know. Can you please also introduce yourself?
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. My name is Andres Ospitia. I am the Global Expansion Manager of Lean Solutions Group. I used to work here in the technology industry for more than 10 years. And I'm really happy to be here because I also have the opportunity to working in many other sectors like education, health, and banking. And it is a great opportunity to face what is going on in the future. And thanks a lot. And hi, everyone, again.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Andres. And I know that you employ more than 10,000 people, so who might or might not be impacted, but in some way, maybe all of them will be impacted, either as users of the technology or also because they have to reskill or upskill themselves. So I'm curious to learn much more from you later in this panel as well. Stephen, you are joining us from Copenhagen today. So Andres, you're sitting in Colombia, and Artie, you are sitting in India. Thank you for joining us early for Andres' case, and also very late for your case, Artie. So Stephen, you are joining from Copenhagen, and you have made a presentation for us, because we want to get on the same page when it comes to what are we even talking about when we talk about artificial intelligence and generative AI. And Stephen is the expert when it comes to this. So I'm going to add now this presentation to the stream. And then Stephen, please give an introduction of yourself and help us understand better what is happening within this field, and how do you believe it's going to impact our work?
Thanks a lot, Pernille. And I'm an algorithm professor at the University of Copenhagen, but I'm going forward and back to the industry. My last company made a streaming webcast solution used by many of the biggest TV media stations all over the world. For this presentation, I cannot change slide myself, so I was missing something before returning to university. But I left university once again and made a company called Subwiz, focusing on customer service and support using AI. And if we take the next slide, Pernille, this is just my super short intro to the company. And that is like we have chatbot, email bots, voice bot, and etc. Whatever you can think about, you can use for AI in customer service, or it could also be for service internally in a company. And the next slide. So first, I want to talk about AI in general. What is that? If I say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, you have started guessing maybe that I'm just adding the number 2 all the time to the number. So it'll be 14, 16, 18, 20, and so on. And next slide. But you have probably not seen that on this slide, it was saying artificial intelligence. Human beings are really good on finding patterns, and machines are also very good. Machines we can use to find patterns in things when the data is very huge. Then it can be impossible for a human being to find the pattern, but for a machine, it can be easy because it has so much power looking for the pattern. And next slide. So these kind of patterns is all over us here. This is an old example where you have been taking a machine and then you've been feeding the machine with some likes from a Facebook user. And then the question is like, how many likes do you have to feed the machine before the machine is just as clever on that human being as that human being wife or husband or friend and so on. And it turns out that if I feed the machine with 70 likes from Facebook, that machine will be able to ask questions about that human being just as good as a friend, and 150 just as good as a family member, and 300 likes just as good as your wife or husband. And the question is something like, what do you vote on? Where do you want to go on vacation and stuff like that? And this is just to say that these patterns are coming up again and again. And next slide. Now I can take a sound, and if you look at the sound, I can, to that sound is a wave. That's what you see to the left. And maybe I'm recalling that to this wave where there was a sound wave that someone was saying dog. Now, if I have a lot of waves like that, and I've been tagging this as a dog, and then someone is saying something, then I can find a wave look very much like that. And then if they look very much like that, it's probably a dog. This artificial intelligence can be used to many different things, and we're actually using it on a daily basis. For example, to play chess here. That could be a good old example. Play chess against a machine, of course. This slide is showing where all the clever business people believe that AI will have a big impact in the near future here. And if you go in and look into this, as bigger the box is, as more money is going to change here. That is the belief. The next slide. I know that people in general speaking like to talk about something really, really new happened here from a technology point of view. And I'm a tech guy, so from a tech perspective, there's not something really, really new happened here yesterday here. But I will come back. There is something little new here, what that is here. But I just want to show you what is going on, generally speaking, with AI and digitalization and so on. This is Google Translate. And if you look at this example, it's just getting better and better year for year. And there was a time where it was like ridiculous bad. And then suddenly we just started using it. And it's pretty good here. And if you take the next slide. And to the left, you see a picture where we've been doing some scramble on it. And then the other pictures here is one of the other pictures is the original one. And you could try to guess which one. But if you take the next slide, then it was the picture all to the right, was the original one. And then you can see the two in between was AI generated pictures, respectively from 17 and 18. If you look very, very closely, you can see that the 18 picture is a little bit better than the 17 picture, but it's not like, it didn't work before and now it's working, but it's just small progress here going on all the time. This is actually also an example on, with the pictures, is example on generative AI, because we've been generating a picture here out from something, but you already know it from like photoshopping. If you upload a picture and you say make it nice or put some weird ears on it, that's generative AI. What is really going on typical when something big is happening in business and not in technology. That is where we get to the breaking point. And here I have an example that on an annual basis, there's been a competition between man and machine. And what's going on is that you show both the machine and the human being some pictures, and then you have to tell what is on the picture. And if you look at the human being, we have been pretty stable in that competition over the many different years here, having an accuracy on 95%, where the machine was really bad going some years back here. Then at a certain point, the machine is getting better than the human being. And at that point, we lose the excuse for not using the machine. So when the machine is worse than the human being, we're always saying, that's not good enough. I don't want to use it. But in the moment we have it that the machine is better than the human being, then it come out tons of applications here. And this is typical when we see the breaking point from a business point of perspective here. If we go to the next slide. This is also kind of reflected in dollars. This is Juniper Research saying that in 17 there was like a $20 million saving using chatbot, and expected is $11 billion in 23 here. So we're kind of going from, it's not good enough to now it's good enough here. Next slide. But being good enough or not good enough also depends on the business domain we're looking into here. So this is the very first chatbot I'm aware of. It's called Eliza, and from 1966 here. And if you were saying anything to Eliza, it was just responding with, what do you think? What do you believe? And so on. You have actually recordings of human being talking with Eliza for hours and hours. And it makes sense because, some psychology direction is like when you go to your psychologist, then the psychologists are saying to you, what do you think? What do you believe? And this was maybe the same kind of dialogue we were seeing going on here. But if you take Eliza and put it onto, for example, customer service, and you call and saying, where's my package? And it's responding, what do you believe? I mean, it was clearly not good enough for that. But so kind of the technology is getting better and better and better, and it's getting better and better. It's more and more domains here, and then there's some breaking points coming out. And we take the next slide. And here we look for image recognition, like suddenly we could identify something on a picture, and tons of applications coming out here, many different ways. And if we take the next slide. This is one of my favorite tools. You could go into image.google.com and you can upload a picture. Here I've been uploaded a picture, and Google saying, Google believe this is an extended family on holiday. And I think this is a pretty good guess. If you take a picture of your cat and upload it, essentially what's going on is that Google is finding a lot of other pictures look very much your picture. The patterns is very similar, not identical, but very similar. And all these pictures identical to your cat, people have probably been tagging it with, I love my cat, see my cat, here's my cat. So then all these pictures looking like your pictures is probably a cat, because that is what is tagged with what all the pictures look like, your pictures here. If we take the next slide. Then I've been uploading a picture for myself, and then Google saying I'm Spider-Man, and I'm not. At least I'm not aware of it here. So I'm just saying that the technology is not perfect. But even the technology not being perfect, it could be good enough. And that is the question always. Is it good enough? Are we on a breaking point now where it's better than human being and so on? Then it's good enough for that domain here. But be careful, because sometimes the hype is going crazy. People have been telling me for the last 5 years that my car, which is the Tesla, is self-driving, and it's not here. Absolutely not. And I would believe the self-driving car is something we have to wait for maybe 30 years, 40 years. I don't know here, but it's not tomorrow, at least here. And next slide. But again, what is a self-driving car? That depends on the definition, right? So here you can see, what some people could claim was a self-driving car here, going on tracks here. That's a fair thing here. It's self-driving, at least here. If you go to the next slide. If you take a very good search engine like Google search engine, that's actually better than ChatGPT here for searching, if that is what we want to do. And then you search for a pizza, then 6 billion people have been training it to find a pizza, and they do it absolutely perfectly here. But most people know that if you use, for example, Google search engine on the internet or your website, it runs into problem because it's not trained to understand what's going on inside your company. Next slide. For that reason, we are normally playing the game of guessing the right keywords. So what you're doing inside a company is that you standardize the way you're speaking about things. Otherwise, we get confused. But the people you're giving a service, they don't know these standardized words here. It could also be the IT department or HR department having some standardized way of speaking about things. And then all the people, they have to give a service and they don't know how are they speaking in HR or IT department. And then you associate keywords to document knowledge base, web pages, and so on. And then you put the burden on the user to guess the right keyword to get the service I really want. And next slide. If you want to do it a little bit more modern way here, so what you're doing is that you let people speak in the language they want to speak, and then you find some user from the past saying something very similar. Yeah, where you already know what was these users' problem, and then you have the mapping over to the company. So instead of mapping from the user to the company, you map from the users to some previous users over to the company. Yeah, and next slide. And if you do this right, can we play the video, Pernille? I even don't know. No, it's fine. We don't play the video here. So just this is just a guy for the Danish health authorities saying that we got a chatbot in this way up and running in a couple of weeks, and then during Corona, and then to the next slide. And we had 88% optimization and so on. So this can actually be real in a really quick time here. It's working. And the next slide. But what I think is maybe really interesting here is that if you let people speak in the free language and you try to help them, now you can go in and look at all the people you didn't help with this kind of technology. Yeah. And what we're doing here is that we are grouping everyone's where we didn't understand what you were saying together. And then you figured out what knowledge are missing inside your company. So we kind of going, when you let, instead of people guessing a keyword, you don't know what you're looking for. But if you let them speak in the free language, then you can kind of figure out what knowledge are we missing inside our company. And the next slide. Then I jump to ChatGPT and text generator. If you look at text generator, that's something we've been actually having around us for a long time. If you go to the Google search bar, then you can say my boss is, and then it will just come up with suggestion like my boss is mean here. And this is because this is the most typical thing that what people have been writing on the internet. It doesn't have to be true for your company or your situation and so on, but this is just the most typical thing. If you go in for texting, then it also like you can have what is the next word, next word, or next word. And again, if you just use next word, next word, next word, you get a full text, but it can also be full of nonsense here, these text generators, but have been here for a long time. That was just my point. And these text generators we have had for a long time, also really good text generator for making job applications, all kind of things you can use it for. You can also say, I want to make a draft for a strategy document here, or let's get a summarizing of a dialogue being going on to a meeting here. But be careful. So for example here, if you have some, you could also put a text generator into saying, I'm sending a mail, or I'm have an agent answering somebody, and then you can ask the text generator, say, make this a little bit more nice mail here. But if you do this, there's a risk that the text generator, will change the content of what you're writing to something being wrong here. So it is like it will make it more prettier, but there's a risk you're also introducing that will be wrong here. And if you can you live with that risk and just fire off the email, or do you want to put more time into your workflow to control that now is also correct? Take an example here. When you have the spelling control inside your Word, then most people at least are actually looking carefully at every suggestion. Oh, I take this one, I don't take this one, I take this one. And this is just a text generator on a very simple way somehow, and just suggesting one word here. just one word and you don't trust the machine. Yeah. So I'm just saying, be a little bit careful with the hype, maybe not trusting it can make a full text for you when you don't even trust it making a single word for you. Yeah. Now, if we look at it here, we can generate a text. So we could, for example, generate a job application here, or we could generate all kind of text. We can also summarize the text. If you have long text, it's boring, I don't want to write it here. If you look at if we look at this writing a text, so I think it would be very helpful in the future for all the text we have to write. Then we now have this tool to make draw for us, and we can help us making this text here. So this is efficiency coming in here. But if I just look back in time with human being here, then it is like that when we got, we could take more with the cameras on a mobile, we could take more pictures. We take many more pictures, or we could do mailing with email instead. Then we're going from maybe sending a mail every week to send thousands of mails every day. So there's kind of an explosion in how much we are producing when the technology make our life easier. And someone, also have to read it. So I believe that text generator will be a helpful tool for the text we are writing today, but we will also see people writing much more text, and someone have to read it, right? And then we can end up in this stupid situation that we have, for example, ChatGPT to make you just say, in this little joke here saying, I just put in a dot, and then ChatGPT made a long email I could send to all my colleagues. And then the colleagues on the other side are just making a summarizing it into a dot here. This is what more or less is going on. And I could, if the CEO is going out with a new strategy, then I could maybe say, ChatGPT, I would like to comment on that strategy, that should be a little bit more blah, blah, and just a few lines, and then ChatGPT will make, a very long text about that. It's really, we can generate, it doesn't have to be a lot of clever force in the text here. So I think you have to be careful, otherwise employees will waste tons of time. If you go back to the chatbot, then the chatbot we have had for a long time have been using this, what we call large language model. I mean, all the technology inside ChatGPT here, the technology approach here have been inside chatbots. But we've just been putting in around the chatbots, controlling what are they saying and how are they saying, what's the answers and so on. So this is the typical thing a company want to be very sure about, what's the answer coming out, that it doesn't, say something we don't like here. But the ChatGPT is like, you just set it free and you have to risk saying something really wrong or something you don't believe in as a company. So we are looking into kind of in a world where we have a situation that it's a trade-off between the text generator. It can make smooth dialogues, very nice, but your risk is not correct. Or you can have boring dialogues being correct. Like you're asking your friend, what time is the bus going? And the friend is saying it's 9 o'clock. That's a smooth dialogue, but it's maybe not correct. Maybe you should ask the friend, what bus are you talking about? That's a little bit longer dialogue here, but it's maybe more correct. So you have a trade-off with this AI technology between smooth and correctness. You can combine them somehow, but you have to do this extremely careful. And I think my time is out now, Pernille, here more or less here.
Yeah. So if you could just quickly maybe tell us a little bit about, I think this one about bias, that would be very helpful. And then we'll go to the panel and ask them, so this one here, can you talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so when we make AI, then typically what we're doing is that we are replicating what human beings are doing. And human beings are extremely biased. Sex, religion, race, and so on. Many different biases coming in. And we have a risk when we ask a machine to do something, we're copying the real world. It can also be, dangerous to not copy the real world. Now is the good story here is that for a human being, it could take, forever. Maybe it's impossible to take out the bias. But if I have some objective like goals I want to have for the machine, I can tune it in overnight here. So all this about machines being biased here, yes, it's being biased like a man or a human being here. But it's really, really good that we can actually use the machines to take bias out of the system. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Stephen, for getting us on the same page. And what we'll do now is open up the discussion a little bit, and I'll add Artie and Andres now. And Stephen, thank you for the general introduction. So Artie, I would like to ask you, so this was the general introduction from Stephen, and what considerations have you had in your work setting, and what have you thought about in terms of incorporating or maybe preparing your workforce for using and also living with the new world of artificial intelligence and generative AI?
That's a big responsibility I see at this whole piece of AI coming into the world, and the recommendations and suggestions and advice that I give to people around me in my organization, in my previous organization, or everybody around me is that you have to find the right source of information. You cannot go behind everything that is on the web, because whatever is in the web is not just right, it is also wrong, it is also destructive, it is constructive. But the only thing that is advisable for people to be careful about is getting to the right source of information. Then there are a lot of speculations about AI coming in, and a lot of insecurity about how it is going to impact the work. And since things are not clear, people do feel that it is going to take up a lot of jobs. But my advice, my message to everybody is, no, if you understand it well, it is going to be an enabler to make your job do faster and not take away your job. And then I also suggest people that you should just follow the right source of information. And if you're more interested, go ahead, and there are a lot of colleges, a lot of universities giving free AI classes. You have Stanford, you have LinkedIn, you have EDX, and a lot of platforms to just understand a step better that what AI is capable of. And when you have the right piece of information, you would know that what is the best application you can make out of it. That's where I think that people should understand the use of AI, and just get to the right message from the AI and all the transformation that is going in and around the world.
So one of the things you're saying is that really trying to understand it and live with it, right? But and then you also said that it might not impact, but we also have statistics showing that it might impact. Yeah, that 2 workers will have over 50% of their work tasks impacted by GPT, and 6 will have maybe 10% of their work tasks impacted. And we have seen some graphs recently about what jobs are exposed, and some are low exposure according to research, and some are high exposure, and we have some general things showing that high wages, writing, programming are high exposure, and this, when you look at these graphs and recommendations, and also what the research shows, it looks like this is going to impact especially what you are also dealing with, Andres, in your work settings, right? So you have outsourcing business here, where you have 10,000 employees working within HR and marketing and different positions that might be highly impacted. So what are your thoughts about what's hitting us right now, Andres?
Okay, thanks. I think, or particularly, we think into our organization that we have actually all the positions are exposed. Okay, with the new tools, with the new technologies, we have to effort from the next 2 years. Maybe all the industry is going to suffer a lot for these new changes, and because we are living a revolution, and that's it. And this is something that changed everything, and everything is changing so faster and so dramatically that we have to understand that actually we have to back to the basics. We have to evaluate. We have to lead our process. We have to have really critical thinking. We have to change everything. We have to assess what we are doing wrong. This is not only against what the leaders do or something like that. We have also to have an internal critical thinking.
Mm.
We need creative thinking. It's necessary to contribute to our ideas. This is good to be an entrepreneur, but it's also really good to contribute to our companies and to our customers and stop thinking so much about ourselves. Okay, we have to lead the artificial intelligence only carry out orders. Leading is to create, is not only to comply, it's only to take risks, to take responsibility. We should not be managers, directors, or founders to do something like that. Okay, we have to take that risk and say, hey, I have something to tell you, I have something to do, I have a great idea, and this is something that never the artificial intelligence is going to do it. We have to listen to our customers. We have to understand what hurts to them. We must create new ideas. That I think that is going to change, and that is going to secure our positions in our labors. Not only the low or the high exposure. I think that all the positions are exposure actually.
Yeah. So what are you actually doing to help your workforce, Andres? So have you had discussions with your leadership team about, what communication strategy you are using in terms of not having people, being really fearful and not being able to really work, but also maybe upskilling them? What's your thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, I think that our people have a great confidence into the company. So they know that we are working to find new alternatives and solutions for everyone. Whatever I think, or if the fear of the future is something itself on the human condition, okay, in all of us. How we do it into the organization? We creating every day new tools that help to grow them of each of the members of our teams. Tools like into the technical aspects, we created a lot of tools like the web network or LEDs that with tools or with the help of AI that is going to help to the people to increase the training aspects or to increase his English level or so many things. But we also work a lot with the humanity, with the human aspects. We have to increase the soft skills, the leadership, and all the things that I told you before. That I think that is our best way to communicate to our people what we have to do to face this kind of challenge.
All right, that sounds great. So the leadership skills, the softer skills, the empathy, all the things that's required to use it ethically and in a good way, but also managing oneself and coming up with new and creative ideas. And Adi, is it some of the same considerations you have in HR? Because I know you need to ask yourself some questions, right? What is our responsibility as HR professionals in terms of securing our workforce understanding of what's going on, but also helping them navigate it? So what have you done?
So I always emphasize on the difference between AI and human is that we have the heart in place, whereas the AI doesn't have the heart in place, and we have the ability to be emotional, we have the ability to be empathetic, and when we see all these things, these are the things that are not replaceable by any of the artificially made things in the world. And like Andres was saying that what is he doing for the organization and people, I think my recommendation is around the same piece. If people are agile enough and they understand that the transformation happening in the world is very fast, they have to make themselves pace the world, and they have to make sure that they are with the world and they are upskilling themselves regularly. They are making sure that they are aware of what's going on in the industry, and they are making themselves ready for the future. And that's where we say that, yes, if something is getting away from the world, something is also getting added to the world in terms of technology, the new technology, and this is going to be happening and keep on happening, and there's no end to it. The only thing that we have to make sure is to be ready for accepting the change faster than ever before. And everything comes down to one thing for everybody, that is the decision making when it is about the use or understanding the AI in general. And the basic concept that I would suggest anybody to think from is whether it is the right thing or the wrong. in a very basic sense and understand it from the hard perspective, not just what's the technology perspective, and that element nobody nothing can, it cannot be replaced, is what I want to say here.
Yeah. And Stephen, when you listen into this, what comes to your mind in terms of the application and the impact artificial intelligence and generative AI is having on the workplace right now?
I mean, you show the numbers, right? So it have a big impact, that's for sure. But it's also like a little bit like if you go 100 years back, I mean, I guess no one of us would have been doing the same as we're doing today. I mean, most people was farmers.
Yeah.
So it's a constantly change in what human beings are doing, and have been like that for many years, and that will continues.
Yes.
I think when I look at it from a technology, like I say, text generator, it's like, wow, why haven't that been used? I mean, I think ChatGPT was really good at democratizing it, making it clear for everyone how to use it easy. So, so I think that's been an eye opener, and for that reason, there's a lot of things to catch up with. Yeah, but it's not like we have a new big brain today we didn't have yesterday. Yeah.
No, it's maybe in the hands of more, right? So that's maybe what we're seeing
Exactly.
and what the inflection point is all about, and what the hype has been all about, right? So we have also some headlines showing that Apple restricts employees' use of ChatGPT. We've had the speak by Tristan Harris and Isa Raskin recently from Center for Humane Technology, talking about how we should be wary about the use of it. And Andres, have you considered, in terms of upskilling your workforce to use it for the better of your customers, of course, how to do it in an ethical way? Do you also have some considerations about not just letting everybody do whatever, or how are you ethically implementing this with your workforce?
No, I think that I have to be completely honest. I think that this is gonna show to the humanity a new frontiers, and I prefer to think always in I prefer to be positive. Okay, I always prefer to speak first from the positive side. Without a doubt, the frontiers will expand in a way that we never seen before, and we haven't imagined. I think that the AI is going to help an industry like us to find better people, to improve our selection process. This is going to help to the companies to have the better people as possible, and a velocity that we never seen before. And I think that for the humanity sides and all the possible aspects, for the health sector, for the education, for example, is going to help a lot. Is that kind of tools that we are trying to develop, actually, because this is a revolution, and it's a really and a fast revolution, and the change is, and as Stephen told before, the change is now. What's going on meanwhile that happens? What's going on meanwhile the people adapt to the new technologies and learn the new ways? And we have to back to the basics. We have to understand that we have to introduce the proper variables to that machines, like the prompt engineers. I don't know if you know that professional. We have to have that training to introduce the proper way to increase our productivity and our research. I think that is the principal skills that we have to provide to the people, but we are learning into that process. Yes. If someone come here and says that they have or they has the proper solutions, it's a liar. Nobody has it. We are learning, and we have to learn meanwhile the process. And this is a part of the humanity. Proof and mistake. Proof and mistake. Okay, yeah. And we want to find the right solutions for everyone, for the industries and for the economy and the society, yes, as a whole.
So you've had those discussions with your leadership team in terms of how to figuring out what's a good solution and what's a bad solution, and how do we then implement it in the best way. And one of the things, Adi, I would also like to ask you is the questions you've asked yourself as an HR professional. What's your responsibility, and also what are some ethical considerations you've made in order to prepare yourself best?
Wow, this is a really important question because I'm particularly concerned about the serial fundamental aspects, the moral aspects of that kind of things. This is, I still remember a book that I have to read when I was in the university and in the college. It's just I not remember the name in English, but this the principle of moral aspects of Adam Smith. I don't know if it's one of you know it. And actually, I think that what's going on with the second chances, what's going on with the management of the data, what's going on with the racial aspects, like Stephen told us before. Okay,
Yes.
if someone trying to use that data to reduce or to only to I think that it is the principal things that concern to us. What's going on if someone have a mistake in a past job? What's going on with him in the future if he doesn't have the proper data into that databases? That for me it's pretty important to understand that, and the regulation that maybe it's my main concern. I don't know if you've seen the news of the last week. Sam Altman, and the manager of ChatGPT, I don't remember the name of the company, and he goes to the Congress of the United States and he says that actually we require regulation for this kind of things. I think that it's a moment when the humanity, we have to join as humanity, and we have to create a regulation we have to create the evolution of these new tools, because we have to concern about us, about our people. This is something that is a main worry of our company, or companies like Lean Solutions Group. We are really concerned. We believe in the people. We believe in us. We believe in humanity, and this is a thing that we have to work as humanity.
Yeah. Okay, great. And actually, the question was also for you, Artie. So, have you asked yourself the same questions, and what kind of conversations have you had with your team in terms of ethical considerations, and also how to best maybe communicate around the new technology?
See, my first question to myself is, first of all, whether it is applicable for my industry, whether it is going to be useful for my industry. And if the answer is yes, how? And after how, we have to analyze the advantages as well as the disadvantages, the threats and risks that it brings. And Andres pointed out a very important thing, that unless we have a regulation, my suggestion to all the HR colleagues attending this session is that we need to have the regulation first in place, if not the global regulation, the local regulation, before implementing any AI for the organization. Because until then, everything that is available through the AI is doable. There is no barrier in the AI platform at the moment. You can create fake pictures, you can create fake videos, you can do anything that is not right. And of course, I come back to the same point, that from the moral lens, please use the moral lens to make any decision around AI, please, because that is where the human element comes into picture in understanding the risk associated with AI. And it is too early to say that we can implement it, Pernille. I think we have to wait and see what regulations comes along with the platform and with this technology in front of us.
Okay, great. I know that we have some great questions in the chat as well. Let's see some of them. Let's put them in here and see what's coming up in the chat, because we have quite a few people joining us asking questions. And one of them is, what is the most important that an HR leader should know about AI, in your opinion, Artie?
It is the risk, I would say, Anders, that AI brings with itself. I know that there are a lot of things that are going to be easy and we know that it's going to give a lot of shortcut to our daily routine jobs. But the most important thing at this point of time, I think of, is the risk that it brings with itself. So we
Yes.
should be aware of the risks.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see another one. We have another one here from Leonard. Do you think we will run into danger of losing the ability to judge and make the right decisions? And this is for all of you, and if yes, how can we counteract since we cannot backward engineer AI output? Great question. I don't know, Stephen, do you want to go first on this one?
Saying backward engineering AI output. So I mean, maybe I can say that the way we've been building our chatbot, that is like when you make a decision, then you can unfold the decision always. So you can look into intent steps. I mean, why did you make that? And then you can tune it in. And this is also part of the AI regulations coming out of EU here in the end of the year. So you actually should be able to, at least if it is important question, to unfold the decisions going on.
So I think maybe the question is also going into the humanity aspect that you're talking about, Andres. And do you want to add in a comment here as well?
Yeah. Obviously, I love a book that is The Criteria of Jaime Balmes. I don't know if someone of you know it. And I think that it's pretty important to teach the people that aspects, the criteria, what it's the main point, because nobody's going to be the reason. Nobody's going to be the criteria. What is the fundamental aspects? As an educator, I have to face in so many times when the people introduce a question into the Google search engine and they try or they believe that is the truth. I always say to my students, you have to believe into your criteria. You have to believe in your fundamentals, in your basis, and you're gonna find the proper answer for yourself and for the situation that you have to face. That I think that is the most important point that we have to understand actually with these new tools, the new technologies.
Responsibility of also keep on asking ourselves and our leaders and our people to make wise choices whenever and have those leadership capabilities of judgment and ethical consideration. And I think maybe we lost Arti. She might have had a power outage out in India. I'm sorry, but we hope she can join us again. But there's another one here. How risky is it to use ChatGPT and other public AI platforms in terms of development and innovation? Can it be safe for all, or should we not use it? And this, Stephen, maybe you want to answer this one.
Yeah. So I mean, wow, that's a big question. There's kind of variation in this. So first of all, I would like to say that I mean, I would say to all companies, try to be aware of what your employees are doing today and yesterday. Yeah, because you're going maybe and using Google Translate and other tools online where they're actually moving data out of the company. Yeah, and is that okay or not? You need to have a policy around that, and it's not only ChatGPT here, but it's also all other kind of tools. Yeah, that maybe you have to regulate, like what tools are okay or not, because people are moving data out. If you look at ChatGPT specifically here, then for some version of ChatGPT, then the data is going to the US. That is actually in some cases in Europe illegal to do. And even sometimes the data is going from the US and then to Nigeria, which is further illegal and so on. So it can be super illegal to do it here. Then let's assume it's not illegal. Then it could be, I mean, then as a company, maybe do you want to have your data going out or not? This is also what you were showing before, that some companies been forbidding using this technology because you were calling it data leak. They didn't want to have the data going out.
Yeah, so I think we have some great questions coming in here. We're gonna take a few more in a moment, but I'm first gonna show you this one here. Arti, before she dropped off, she actually sent us this one. So she has some great points about advice questions HR must ask themselves. So basically, having an AI strategy, it aligns very well with what you just said about promoting a culture of ethical considerations, and having those questions in place at your next HR meeting or with your leadership team. Really ask yourself those questions. We'll share them here for you to copy at a later point, but also just to sum up maybe some of the considerations. And then I think we have time for a few more questions. And then towards the end, both Andres and Stephen, I would like you to consider one key thing that people can do already tomorrow to prepare themselves better for this world with artificial intelligence and generative AI at the workplace. But let's first have this one. Is AI able to bring in a better leadership than human?
Okay, I think that is my turn. Okay, obviously, and I have an example that is 100 years ago when Henry Ford's opened the factory in Detroit. All the town goes to the town and say, "Hey, with this new factory, you're gonna take our jobs, and we not gonna have unemployment in the future." And he goes and say, "You can imagine the new frontiers in the new future that you're gonna have with this new vertical integration solution." And Detroit is going to be one of the most important cities in the United States in the future. I think, and I really positive the same aspects into with the AI challenge. I think that we're gonna have a new prosper and a marvelous future for humanity. But we have to build it. And this is our responsibility. Take that leadership. And a machine never is going to have that purpose. Never is going to have that creative. Never is going to have that principles. Never is going to create new solutions. We have to create it. And we have to lead that process as humanity. If we introduce the proper and the right variables to that machines, we're gonna have better results for us. But if we doesn't, you know perfectly what's gonna be the result that we're gonna have.
Interesting. Yeah. So maybe this question also comes out of, Stephen, I'll let you answer it as well, because maybe it also comes out of those things that we have seen lately, where you can be nudged to remember to give feedback, or you can be nudged to remember to have your one-to-ones. And so maybe it can also be a question about that. And Stephen, was that something like that you were going to say, or something completely different?
I just want to put it into perspective. On one hand, I could make an AI algorithm monitoring a leader. Like, are you biased in the way you're communicating? The job ads you're putting out, is that more, something for a man to a woman to apply for? I mean, I could put in all kind of algorithms to put up some warnings for you, right? I can do that. But I still want to have the human being involved. And I can explain you why. If you make a Google search, there's coming up 5 different links and be going all kind of directions, and then you use your brain to decide what to do. If you take ChatGPT, then it's more like you could think about it like you just take the top link and then you ask to generate a text like that is the full truth. And I mean, it's not when you're sitting Googling, then there's a 5 link and you use your human brain. So we need to combine the human being and the AI together in the best possible way, put these 2 things together. But can I improve the leadership? Yes, I can, because I can monitor, I can put up some alarms, and then you have to decide, is this the good thing for my company or not? Maybe it's good for your company, but it's not good in general.
No.
Yeah.
That was very precise. And Artie, welcome back. I know you had maybe a power outage or something happening to you. We're sorry about that. We are actually summing up now. We only have a few minutes left. And I would like for each of you to give maybe a few advice for the audience in terms of what is one of the things that they need to consider in terms of HR, but also building up your business where you have your business, Andres and Stephen. What's some of the key points you want people to remember after this webinar? And let's start with you, Artie, since you were out for a few minutes.
Sure. So the 2 takeaways that I would like to give today to everyone is that first, follow the right source of information. And if you're really curious about AI, get yourself enrolled for something that defines the basics for you so that you are equipped for making better decisions. And the second thing, a second advice that I would like to give everyone here is that please keep every time the ethical lens on when you're thinking of AI, whether to implement it, whether to know it, whether to use it the right way with your heart in place and the ethical lens in place. So those are the two takeaways from me.
Okay, thank you, Artie. And Andres, what about you?
No, I think that more than ever we have to back to the basics, okay? And as the name of our company says, is we have to get back to the lean methodology. We have to go around our client. We have to customize their solutions. We have to understand what they need. We have to understand what our people need, what our people require. We have to understand that it is a challenging and changing process. And we have to understand that we have to study, we have to back to the fundamentals. We have to understand to what we want to create and we how we gonna create properly. I think that is the most important thing that we have to understand. Okay, thanks a lot.
What about you, Stephen? What's one of your key advice?
Yeah, I would say that man and machine have to work together. And in every business, you have to think really, really hard about what is the good thing machines can do and what's the good thing a human being can do, and then put it together here. That's the challenge. It's not like a 100% one thing or another, ever.
No. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us at today's webinar. I know there are so many more comments and questions in the chat out there. We're gonna take a look at them after this webinar and then try to answer them with articles or blog posts or something like that that can help you get your questions answered. So thank you so much for joining us today all around the world. And thank you so much to our esteemed panel here today. And thank you for joining.
Thanks, Pernille.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pernille, for this webinar. Thanks, everyone, for joining in.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye. Thanks.
Got nothing inside, wanna watch the world passing by. With you by my side, maybe this ride can make things right.